The Assassin's Creed game series is action-packed adrenaline-rushed first-person game. The game is filled with rage, action, blood, gore, and historical events. The first Assassin's Creed was released in 2007 by Ubisoft Games, and the recent game of this series was Assassin's Creed Valhalla, released on November 10, 2020. If you call yourself a gamer, then you might have played at least one of the games from the Assassin's Creed game order. In today's video, I will describe the 12 main games of the most popular action-packed game saga. Number 1, Assassin's Creed, 2007. This is the first game of Assassin's Creed games in order. In this first installment, the main character Desmond Miles wakes up in a machine named Animus. The machine lets him relive the life of his ancestors. Miles confronts the person responsible for putting him in the Animus. In Animus, he is blackmailed by Vidic and blackmailed to relive the life of Altair. He is then tasked to assassinate 9 members of the Templar organization and also find data on each of the targets and report it. This is how the first installment of all Assassin's Creed games started. You can try and download it from free websites like Ocean of Games or other sites. But if you want to purchase the game, then do so from the original Ubisoft store. Number 2, Assassin's Creed 2, 2009. The second game of the Assassin's Creed game saga was Assassin's Creed 2. In this one, Desmond is trying to be a modern assassin. One of his ancestors is helping him in this endeavor. This time Animus took Desmond in the memory of Ezia, who lived during the 15th century Renaissance. Ezia is faced with his father and brother's death and is seeking revenge. The player as Ezia has to complete the thirst for vengeance and assassinate all the enemies. Assassin's Creed 2 is a highly skilled first-person action game. You get to enjoy the game from Assassin's Creed games in order, and it is one of the best of the series. Assassin's Creed 2 is supported on Windows, OS X, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. You can download the game for free too from different free game websites. You don't need any fancy PC setup to play the Assassin's Creed 2 game. Number 3, Assassin's Creed, Brotherhood, 2010. Assassin's Creed, Brotherhood is the third and one of the most exciting games of Assassin's Creed games in order of release date. The story begins from what was left in the previous Assassin's Creed 2. Desmond along with his gang members Rebecca and Lucy meet up in a camp near the ruins of the Villa Auditor. Securing the safety of the team, Desmond again continues to dive into Animus and relive the life of Ezia. This time he has to take vengeance for his uncle Mario. Assassin's Creed, Brotherhood is a refined and exciting action game to play. The game can be purchased for only $6.60. The game can be playable on Microsoft Windows, OS X, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. To play the game you will need a simple PC setup. Even with a low-end PC, you can play Assassin's Creed, Brotherhood. Number 4, Assassin's Creed, Revelations, 2011. Assassin's Creed games in order come Assassin's Creed, Revelations. The game continues from 1511 AD. In this Assassin's Creed game you will see all the major characters from Altair to Desmond. The player plays as Ezia in this installment and travels to Constantinople. Ezia starts his journey from Cappadocia, a city of Constantinople. Assassin's Creed, Revelations is filled with action and firearms shooting. You are sure to enjoy this FPS game when you play it. Assassin's Creed, Revelations is a good game of this series. The story develops in this game and is a fun experience to play. Number 5, Assassin's Creed 3, 2012. Assassin's Creed 3 is the 5th game of Assassin's Creed games. The game is set in 18th century America during the American Revolution. This time the player is introduced to a new player, Hake Tun Connor. Just after the revolution, Desmond and the team find the temple of the first civilization in New York. This time the player sets foot in the game as Desmond. The game explores different characters and the player switches between person to person. This game is available for free on PC as part of Ubisoft's 30th year celebration. This time the best Assassin's Creed games can be played on all major platforms including Wii U, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PC. The game is third-person shooting and is one of the best installments of the Assassin's Creed saga. Number 6, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, 2013. The game Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag is also set in the colonial period. But the story is set before the Assassin's Creed 3 period. This time the player takes the role of Ezio's grandfather Edward Kenway. This time the Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag is based on pirates and is more exciting with a great storyline. Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag stands above the other games of the Assassin's Creed series. This is by far one of the most challenging games of all Assassin's Creed games. You rule the pirates of the Caribbean. The game is 30 GB in size and requires a decent PC setup to run properly. Number 7, Assassin's Creed, Rogue, 2014. Assassin's Creed, Rogue is the final of the colonial era and the final battle takes place on this installment of the game. This is the only Assassin's Creed game where the player takes the role of the Templar instead of an assassin. The weapons of this game are much more refined and the graphics quality is much better than the previous games. The game was initially released for PS3 and the Xbox 360. Then a year later the game was published for PC and PS4 and Xbox One. You can get the game for free from free gaming websites. Number 8, Assassin's Creed, Unity, 2014. Assassin's Creed, Unity takes a detour from the Black Flag and Rogue and takes place in a European city. The player takes the role of Arnaud Dorian. Arnaud is an assassin who operates in Paris during the French Revolutions. The game covers a vast area as in rebounds per game. The characters can be customized and play style, different from the previous series. This was the first game that introduced cooperative gameplay in the Assassin's Creed game order. It also features more weapons than the previous games and is more action-packed with blood and gruesome battles. This game was released for only PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows. The game requires a higher performing gaming PC as the graphics quality and gameplay is more enriched than the previous Assassin's Creed games. Number 9, Assassin's Creed, Syndicate, 2015. Assassin's Creed, Syndicate takes a small turn from the events of the Unity. The terms of the setting and the story move from Paris to Victorian London. Assassin's Creed, Syndicate was the best and first game of the Assassin's Creed games so that features multiple protagonists. The player can play as different characters in this game. The player plays as the Fire Twins. The game introduced a bunch of different stuff including new melee weapons and firearms. To be frank, Assassin's Creed, Syndicate was the first big change before the revolutionary change in the next series Assassin's Creed, Origins. This third-person action shooter brings a lot more excitement and fun to the Assassin's Creed saga. Number 10, Assassin's Creed, Origins, 2017. Assassin's Creed, Origins is the 10th edition of the long-running PS3 Assassin's Creed game. This time the players are taken to 49 BCE to meet Bayek and Camus. The protagonist ended up being abducted by a masked group. The action goes in Ptolemaic Egypt. Assassin's Creed, Origins made a lot of changes in terms of gameplay and setup. It introduced new fighting sequences and hitboxes. This time the player can damage multiple enemies at a time and it is different from the previous versions of the Assassin's Creed saga. Assassin's Creed, Origins has dynamic combat features and introduces new methods of fighting. The gameplay is more refined and more comfortable to play. Number 11, Assassin's Creed, Odyssey, 2018. Assassin's Creed, Odyssey was an exciting game that was released in late 2018. This time the story takes place hundreds of years before the Origins and focuses on the Hellenic world and the Peloponnesian War. This time the players have been given the freedom to choose the side they want to fight for. The gamers can also choose between two of the main heroes, Alexios and Cassandra. Both of them are the descendants of King Leonidas. As far as the gameplay goes, the story follows the Assassin's Creed Origins. It introduces plenty of rebounds per game features and new weapons and actions. The game is currently available on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows. You can buy the game for $59.94. The game can be exciting and one of the best Assassin's Creed games. Number 12, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, 2020. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the newest Assassin's Creed game in order and the best Assassin's Creed game. The game was launched in November 2020. The game was launched on the newer Xbox and PlayStation console. This installment of the game takes you to 9th century Greece. This time the gameplay focuses on the Viking invasion of Britain and introduces new fight sequences between the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. As the game features new actions and new characters, the game expands widely in terms of mechanics from Origins and Odyssey. This time the game focuses more on stealth and has brought some changes in gameplay. On top of that, Assassin's Creed Valhalla has a new antagonist and newer protagonist. It has much better AI and the game is more refined than all of the previous games. As of writing this article, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the last game of the series Assassin's Creed. When you play the Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you will forget all the previous experience of Assassin's Creed. I highly recommend playing this game and see for yourself. Assassin's Creed is such a game franchise that has entertained gamers since 2007. It is a good idea to play the Assassin's Creed games in order. Tell us about which one is your favorite Assassin's Creed game in the comments and please subscribe. Best of luck, gamers.